This is my final video before I see the Michael Jackson biopic, and it feels surreal because I've been covering this film for almost a decade, and this Wednesday it's all over and we finally get to see it. I reacted to the first trailer, but today I want to expand upon some final thoughts, my worries, and some things I just need to see in this film. The biggest news since my last video was the clip of Jafar Jackson performing Billie Jean being released. This was our first real glimpse of the film, and what immediately stood out to me was the editing, or the over-editing, by John Ottman. He won an Oscar for assembling Bohemian Rhapsody out of some production chaos, but my worry is that we are getting that exact same frantic, over-edited, studio-mandated pacing here. I remind you that Michael's had its fair share of production hell as well. And I'm not against cutting to the crowd, especially here because we don't see that in the original Motown 25 clip, but it's so overdone here. The cinematography feels very unnatural, and I don't know why some of these shots were chosen. Because of all this, my biggest worry for Michael is that it ends up suffering from a lot of the same problems as Bohemian Rhapsody, which has aged terribly. It feels more and more like a cartoon, aspartame version of the story that should have been told, and that could still very much be the movie we're in for here. Again, I point to John Ottman as well as producer Graham King. Hopefully though, audiences will be focused on Jafar, and this won't be an issue. I really love the cutaways to the little boy in the audience taking in the performance because it feels like he represents so many of us seeing Michael here for the first time. It's rumored that he's the same boy who later walks up to a crying Michael after Motown 25 and tells him that he did a good job. I really hope that's true, and that would make the entire sequence for me. Speaking of how the story's being told, I really liked Paris Jackson's take on this, as she stepped away entirely from the film's promotion to fight the Michael Jackson estate in court.
The film panders to a very specific section of my dad's fandom that still lives in the fantasy, and they're gonna be happy with it.
I really like dishonesty. I spoke up. I wasn't heard. I fucked off. That's it. Y'all are gonna like the fucking movie, so just go watch it, go enjoy it, do whatever, leave me out of it.
Janet Jackson is as well confirmed to not be mentioned in the film at all, which is rumored to have been by her own request. I've seen some fans say this is great, as Janet deserves her own biopic, but I can't help but feel we're missing a lot of emotional beats from Michael's life. Now, part 1 might not suffer so much, but part 2 definitely. I mean, we've got to see Scream. I'm curious to see how all of this develops. I don't care who you are or how you feel about the film, Wednesday will be life-changing, so right now I want to walk through some things I just have to see in this film. I've read some rumors that both Diana Ross and The Wiz have been cut out entirely, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. However, what I do need to see is Michael Jackson experiencing Studio 54.
I like the atmosphere of Studio 54. I've been to a lot of discotheques and I don't like them.
This legendary New York nightclub was the nightlife hotspot for so many people like Andy Warhol, Elton John, Elizabeth Taylor, Cher, and many more. It was known for being a melting pot of gay and straight, poor and rich, known and unknown, but it was always Michael Jackson's first glimpse of adulthood. I just really hope we see this brought to life on screen. The euphoria of leaving all of that behind, what made Studio 54 so electric, but most importantly, Michael coming into his own as an adult. This could be really cool. Tying right into coming into his own, the next thing I want to see, and this has almost been confirmed by some trailers, is the manifesto letter discussed in Spike Lee's Motown to Off the Wall documentary. Michael writes, quote, "MJ will be my new name. No more Michael Jackson. I should be a totally different person. People should never think of me as the kid who sang ABC or I Want You Back. I should be a new, incredible actor, singer, dancer that will shock the world." And I still get chills just reading that, so I hope we see a 20-year-old Michael at Studio 54 write such a powerful prediction. Secondly, I know we've seen Billie Jean at Motown 25, but I hope we see Michael Jackson's Rolls Royce catch on fire while composing Billie Jean in his head. It's one of the craziest stories in pop music history, so it would be a major missed opportunity to not be adapted here. Although I don't have the highest of hopes, as we already have Motown 25, and Billie Jean will probably be in the Pepsi sequence as well. I also know that Paul McCartney won't be featured in the film, but wouldn't it be cool if he was? I mean, IMDb shows a Ben Cara as playing John Lennon. Honestly, all I'd need is a brief recording session of The Girl Is Mine or Say Say Say, which would lead to a smash cut of the music catalog conversation. And I'm sure that the final film will mention this, but actually seeing the two of them have that conversation would be so cool, but there's absolutely no chance. Finally, I'd like to touch on the film's runtime, as my biggest worry has been confirmed by a couple of the viewers at the Berlin premiere. As they shot this movie his entire life and they're having to cut it down into halves, I really just don't feel like thematically that will work well. Now I know they can shock us somehow with their editing, but It's gonna be really hard. I hope it doesn't feel like half a movie. Michael only clocks in at 2 hours and 7 minutes, which is pretty short compared to the standard 2.5-hour runtimes for films like Ray, Elvis, Straight Outta Compton, Get On Up, and more. I've waited years for this film and I want it to be great, but wanting it to be great is not the same as giving it a pass. Next week, I'm going to tell you exactly what works, what doesn't, and whether this film earns the weight of Michael Jackson's story. I'm very excited to look at this film objectively as a filmmaker myself and truly take in the film I've been anticipating my entire life. I'll see you same time, same place next week. Another reminder that my free British music radio show Brit Waves is streaming on Mixcloud completely free, and I'll see you for the review of this channel.